Welcome to Redbeard and the Den of Tools. Howdy ho, guys and gals, it's Red, your friendly neighborhood tool bear. Now, I know a lot of you have enjoyed our Brief History of series, and I enjoy doing it, especially since I live in Vegas, and let's be honest, doing projects in my garage over the summer can be a bit daunting for somebody with this much fur. Anyway, worry not, once the heat comes down, I'll be doing a lot more projects, hands-on tool reviews and such, but till then, I've had so many people enjoy this series. I have so many requests that I've promised to do videos for that we're going to continue doing these as part of the channel. The series will keep going. We'll probably do one a week or so. That said, let's get to it. Okay then, and today in the Den of Tools, we're going to be taking a look at what many people consider to be the most iconically American of tool lines, and that's Craftsman. Okay, the year is 1927. Lindbergh's just made the first solo non-stop transatlantic flight in the old Spirit of St. Louis there. The Yankees have swept the Pirates in the World Series. It's a heady time to be a moonshiner, as Prohibition is still in full effect. That said, don't forget to check out our sponsor, the Home Distiller's Workbook, your guide to making moonshine, whiskey, vodka, rum, and so much more. Check out the book over on Amazon, links below in the description. So anyway, Sears, who had been founded 35 years earlier, is going strong, and they just hired Arthur Barrows to run their hardware division. Now, Barrows has a vision. Sears has sold lines of tools before with other names on them, but to be honest, they were nothing to write home about. They were inexpensive tools that were not well made, but they could get the job done. Good enough for your average farmer to be sure, but they didn't hold much appeal to pretty much anyone else. Now, Barrows wanted to see a hardware brand that could be known and trusted and that would tie into the whole Sears brand as a whole. The problem was, he already had a name he wanted and somebody else owned it. And that was Marion Craftsman. So Barrows broke out the wallet, purchased the rights to Craftsman for a whopping sum of $500. Now, I know you're thinking, well, how much is that in today's money? Well, that's still only $7,000 in change, which, considering what it became, that was still a pretty screaming deal if you ask the bear. Anyway, Barrows employs the old Goldilocks principle and divides the Sears brands into good, better, and best. You can see here in an ad from 1928, Trojan becomes their entry-level brand. Alright guys, keep it clean, no Trojan quote-quote entry jokes in the comments below. Fulton is the mid-level, and Craftsman becomes, as they say it, the sterling silver mark, their marquee brand, if you will. And you know what? The Craftsman name resonates with consumers, and it's almost an instant success. Sears promotes Barrows to West Coast manager. West Coast! And Barrows hires Tom Dunlop to take over the hardware division. Now, Dunlop is a man who can see the writing on the wall and sees that the future of America is tied directly to the automobile. His first move is to even further improve the quality of the Craftsman tools, promoting the use of quote-unquote vanadium steel. Vanadium? Vanadium. It sounds like adamantium. Vanadium steel. Sorry, I don't know the pronunciation of that one. Anyway, on top of that, he decides that these high-quality tools need to look the part. To great skepticism, including from his boss, he bets his career and orders a facelift for the entire Craftsman line. He has them chrome plate all the wrenches and the sockets and add plastic impact-resistant handles to all the screwdrivers. Many at Sears feel this is a waste of capital, as people, as they say, don't care about how their tools look, only how they work. Well, Dunlop gets the last laugh on them when Craftsman sales of these tools increase 600% in the following year. Yeah, Dunlop is dialed in, and he understands that mechanics take pride in their tools, and with the car industry and car culture surging forward, more and more people are looking to put Craftsman tools in their toolbox. And while it's true that Barrows gets credit for launching the Craftsman brand, many credit Dunlop for making it the success it is today. In fact, from the late 30s on to, we'll say, like the mid to late 50s, Sears renames their mid-tier tool brand Dunlap in his honor. And even after Dunlap himself moves on, the Craftsman name and brand continues. In 1934, they released the first Craftsman lawnmower, getting into the lawn and garden game. In 1938, the brand gets a huge PR win after the Chief Forestry Engineer Officer, George H. Vail, says that, Quote-unquote, Craftsman tools were essential to helping build the world's largest adobe building, the Rocky Mountain offices. And he even goes on to say that Craftsman tools will become a permanent part of the services shop equipment. Hashtag totally not a paid product endorsement. After that, we roll into World War II, where Craftsman tools are not just in factories, in home shops, but they're out on the front lines helping fight the war. In fact, a Sears associate turned Army sergeant reports that one of the first things he runs across in the Philippines was a toolbox with Craftsman hammers, saws, and hatchets left over from a previous Allied landing. Many GIs who learned how to work on cars and trucks and such during the war returned with Craftsman, boldly emblazoned in their mind as the go-to tool. Fast forward to 1950, and Sears launches the Craftsman truck. It hits the road, now selling tools on the road. In 1953, Craftsman launches their first riding lawnmower. Oh yeah, that looks legit. No one lost any fingers or limbs on that thing. 1966, Sears debuts their quick release ratchet, and again, they have another instant success on their hands. Sears and their Craftsman brand keep rolling along, and in 1989, Bob Vila leaves PBS and This Old House to start his own TV show sponsored by none other than Craftsman. And it's kind of funny because as a young cub growing up, I used to watch This Old House all the time. And even I thought it was odd when Bob would pipe up every 5 minutes or so saying, okay, and now I'm going to use my trusty Craftsman blah, blah, blah. Insert tool name here. Again, hashtag totally not a paid product endorsement. Now, I know some of you are wondering why there are not more highlighted. Now, if you've seen my Milwaukee or my DeWalt brief history videos, there's all these different, this year they did this, and this year they launched this, and this year they announced this new cutting edge thing. But we don't really see that with Craftsman. And the reason is there aren't more items on their highlight reel is that Craftsman, their strength never was really in innovating. Their real strength was in providing good quality tools at reasonable prices and backing it up with the best warranty in the biz. You see, one thing that a lot of people also don't understand is that Sears never really made tools. In fact, they never made anything. There are no Craftsman factories, down the street that you can go take a look at. What Sears does is they hire other tool companies to build their tools to their specifications to be sold under the Craftsman brand. This is called private labeling. And honestly, a lot of companies do this. Craftsman, aka Sears, has used companies such as Stanley, Apex, Western Forge, Tektronix, aka TTI for a lot of you guys, the people who make Milwaukee, Ridgid, and Ryobi. In fact, many of the bench and stationary shop tools that Craftsman has sold over the years were actually made by DeWalt or Emerson. Emerson's the company that actually owns Ridgid. And Sears is not alone in doing this. Almost every tool manufacturer outsources some or all of their manufacturing to someone else. There really aren't that many tool companies who can just do it all. In fact, here's a pic of a Sears table saw right next to a Ridgid table saw. And if you think that's odd, take a look at this one from Dayton. Now, I've been trying to find the history of Dayton tools. That's a hard one to look up, but they keep popping up here and there. But as you can see, obviously all three of these table saws came out of the same factory. Now, I touched on it before, but one of the three pillars of the Craftsman brand is the warranty. Their warranty states, if this Craftsman hand tool ever fails to give complete satisfaction, return it to any Sears store or other Craftsman outlet in the United States for a free repair or replacement. This warranty gives you specific legal rights, and you may have other rights which vary from state to state. Now, this warranty has earned Sears and Craftsman the trust and devotion of millions of Americans for countless decades. There are no questions asked, no receipt required policy has elevated the brand to an elite cult-like status that people rapidly defend. But then in 2004, Eddie Lampere happened. Yeah, Eddie with his Kmart brand came in and took over Sears, turned it into Sears Holding. And since that time, countless stories of stores refusing to honor the warranty have surfaced. Now, each time Sears Corporate comes out stating that it's just an improper training at the local level. Seems kind of convenient. But add to that there's been significant pullback on what products are covered. They've been removing the lifetime warranty from many of their products, starting with the home and garden and moving on from there. In fact, Sears has even greatly reduced the Craftsman line itself, so much so that many owners are out of luck when they go to return a broken tool only to be told, sorry, we don't even make that tool anymore, so we're not covering it. And Sears has started also to require receipts for their lower tier products. You better have that receipt with you or they're going to tell you it ain't going to happen. Now, if this was the worst thing that was happening to the Craftsman brand, it might not be so bad. But just wait, there's more. One of the other pillars of Craftsman is made in the USA. That mark has led many patriotic Americans to choose to buy Craftsman over other tools that were foreignly sourced. Sadly, some of Sears' suppliers decided to source their products overseas as well. And at some point, someone made the call, and we don't really know who made this decision, but to keep the Made in America mark on these Chinese and Taiwanese sourced parts. This led to a class action lawsuit for what was essentially one of the most massive and flagrant cases of false advertising ever seen in the tool or retail industry. Let's be honest, when you build your brand on quote-unquote made in America, but they're not made in America, but you still leave the mark on it, honestly, what sort of defense can you really mount against that, huh? Well, apparently the one that works is, yeah, and we suckered everyone. And if you think DaBEAR here is joking, sadly I'm not. Sears got the class action status denied because, get this, there would be too many defendants to be able to manage the case effectively. I don't know about you, but I thought the whole point of a class action suit was to be able to handle large amounts of defendants effectively. I mean, that's the point of a class action lawsuit. Now, apparently the precedent is if you're going to do something illegal, go big. If you do it, you can become too big to sue. Who knew? And sadly, this is hardly the first or last time that Sears has done something shady like this. Starting in 2009, Sears was selling the Bionic Wrench, a universal adjustable sort of wrench tool thing. And it was a pretty hot little product. It sold really well, and Sears continued to carry the product for several years. During this time, however, Sears had been constantly pressuring Loggerhead, the maker of the wrench, to start selling it at a discount and even also to produce it for them as a private label tool, allowing Sears to sell it under the Craftsman brand. Loggerhead, being a small family-run company, was trying to build its brand, and they didn't want to hide behind the Craftsman brand. I mean, go figure, right? And they wanted to get their name out there, so they said, no, we don't want to sell that way. And they had patents on this, and they felt they were pretty safe, and they thought they had a great tool, and that all things were good, so they just kept going. Well, Sears had Apex, one of their private label tool providers, just go out and copy the tool. Yeah, they sat down, took a look at it, saw how it worked, tore it apart, and made what they felt was a legit copy of this tool. Sears suddenly stopped selling the Bionic tool, telling them that, sales numbers are down. And then some guy who happens to know the manufacturer of Bionic is going through a Sears and sees what looks like one of their tools wearing the red colors of Craftsman. He calls them up and says, hey, are you guys selling as Craftsman now? You got to guess he was a little surprised, saying, no, we're not. And hence, Sears is in another lawsuit. Yeah, Loggerhead takes him to court and easily wins a $6 million patent infringement lawsuit. After the ruling, a Sears PR person says that Apex will pay all damages in the case. Apex, however, decides to appeal the finding. It was strongly believed that the judge would throw out the appeal, as the basis was essentially, you made an error in interpreting the patent. I mean, you are a patent judge, and it's not like this is like obtuse, arcane technology we're talking about. It's a simple patent. However, the case took so long that the sitting judge died of old age. And no, again, DaBEAR isn't joking about that. New judge steps in, and she not only takes the appeal, but throws out the unanimous verdict of the previous jury and says, hold on, I gotta catch my breath for this one, and says, no reasonable jury could conclude that the Craftsman wrench infringed on Loggerhead's patents. You mean like that previous jury that voted unanimously that found Apex and Sears had not only infringed on it, but had done so willfully and with intent? Is that the no reasonable jury that we're talking about here, Judge? Now, it's my understanding, now again, I'm no lawyer, but it's my understanding that you need to find something knew or overlooked in the previous ruling to get an appeal in the first place. You can't just go out there and say, we think it was wrong and we want it changed. On top of that, judges are usually very hesitant to reverse another judge and almost never just toss out the verdict of a unanimous jury. But again, this was Sears, and they were playing it on their home field in courts in northern Illinois, and I'm not saying they influenced the decision, but I wonder if Sears could let me know how much the going rate for federal judges these days. It obviously has to be less than $6 million. Now, hold on. I know there's a bunch of you Craftsman fanboys out there and get all butthurt about this because I included this information, but understand, it's not like I made this stuff up. Sears really did do this stuff. Now, if you've been following any of my brief history series, one of the truths that keeps popping up is that tools these days are just not made like they used to be. And while I don't think we'll ever go all the way back to the good old days no matter what, there is some light on the horizon for Craftsman. In 2017, Stanley Black & Decker bought Craftsman away from Fast Eddie and Sears, and now is holding the brand. Now, Sears still holds the rights to manufacture and sell tools using the quote-unquote existing supply chain, and they can do so for the next 15 years, and after that they will get a small but respectable royalty on all sales. That said, Stanley has pushed all in on the Craftsman brand and has launched a virtual tidal wave of new products. And remember that part where I said existing supply chain? Yeah, what that means is that these new products that are coming out, the new ones you see launched, like these over here, yeah, those are not being sold at Sears. These are going to be Stanley exclusives sold mostly through Lowe's and other outlets. In fact, Stanley has even gone so far as to agree to uphold the no questions asked Craftsman lifetime warranty on previously made products as well as the products going forward. Better yet, they've also made a strong, if not total, commitment to trying to make tools in the U.S. Now, most, well, who really knows what percentage, but a lot of these tools are being made in the old USA. Now, they're still using weasel wording and stuff like they use with their DeWalt line, and that is the quote-unquote made in the USA from internationally sourced parts. Now, I've made my feelings clear on this before. For those of you new to the channel, let me explain. What that means is that these components, everything that makes it up, all the pieces of it, are made overseas, shipped to the US, where they're essentially snapped together like Legos. It's not true manufacturing in a sense, but you know, if you're a glasses half full sort of person, you can look at this and say, well, at least it's a good start. It's a good chance to get real manufacturing back here in the US. And guys and gals, you know, I am honestly a fan of Craftsman. I still have several vintage Craftsman tools, and I love them. I do. Now some may argue that I push a lot of Harbor Freight stuff because I do honestly feel like Harbor Freight has kind of taken over the role of the reasonably priced hand tool, guaranteed, no questions asked, easily replaced role that Craftsman used to occupy. Unfortunately, Sears, if you've seen my other video, we don't think they're long for this world. And with Fast Eddie there at the helm, I can't see them making a real turnaround. So we got to put our last faith and hope in Yield Stanley for making this brand be, at least a shadow of what it used to be. Sears made some great tools, or at least I should say, they sold some great tools, and better yet, they sold them at a decent price and they backed them up. Whether the tool was made by Emerson or DeWalt or Apex or whomever was making it, the point was they were standing behind it. And there always seemed to be a Sears no more than a couple miles from your house, which made it easy to go back and, if you had a tool that broke, drop it off and say hi to a friendly face who would swap it out for you. Hopefully, Lowe's will be that place, or apparently not Orchard. Those of you who don't know, Lowe's bought Orchard and they're closing them down. Go figure. But the point being, hopefully there is a future for the brand. I haven't yet got my paws on the latest of their power tools, but I gotta say, they've really put some money into it and they're trying to come out and compete. Where they're going to fall in this new lineup of tools from Stanley, I don't know. Stanley already has Black & Decker as the baby, Porter Cable as the mama, and DeWalt as the daddy, so I'm not sure where this stepchild Craftsman's going to fit into the mix. Honestly, if I had to be a betting bear, I'd say they might drop Porter Cable and give Craftsman the chance to swing, clean up there in the middle, going up straight up against the likes of Rigid. but only time will tell. We'll have to see how these things pan out. I've been trying to get my paws on a set of these tools to give them a shot, and as soon as I do, we'll do a video for you guys. Anyway, till then, put a comment down below. Let the bear know what tool brand or company you want us to cover next in our brief history series. And until then, y'all take care, and as always, shine on. Thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to help support the channel, the easiest way is our 1, 2, 3 method. First, chomp that like button, give us a thumbs up, spread the word with a share, and subscribe and ring the bell. Remember, if you don't ring the bell, YouTube doesn't really believe that you want to watch the videos. But maybe you'd like to take it a step further. Maybe you want to go over to Patreon and consider subscribing to the channel for only $1 a month. You can become a Black Bear member and help support the Den of Tools. Also, YouTube now allows us to sell merch directly on each video. Yeah, if you scroll down below the video, right where you see the description, right below that, you should start seeing a little pop-up window that shows you some of the Den of Tools merch. Or pick up a copy of the Home Distiller's Workbook, your guide to making moonshine, whiskey, vodka, rum, and so much more. And we still have the DaBEAR shirts available. Links to those items, as always, are in the description below.